Real wealth doesn't scream. It doesn't beg for attention. It moves silently, with control, with discipline, with purpose. The loudest people are often the most broke, seeking validation, not growth. Quiet wealth is about freedom, not followers. Power, not noise. In a world obsessed with showing off, the rich don't flex. They move in silence. This is not about quick money. It's about lasting power. Welcome to the 7 Rules of Quiet Wealth. Chapter 1. Stop talking. Start building. Silence builds. Noise destroys focus. That's the truth you must burn into your mind from this moment on. Most people never build anything real because they can't stop talking about what they're going to do. They announce their dreams. They explain their plans. They talk and talk and talk until all that's left is noise. And noise kills focus. You see it every day. Someone says, I'm going to start my business. I'm going to invest. I'm going to change my life. But months later, nothing, no progress. Just more talking. Because talking feels good. Talking gives a false sense of progress. It tricks your brain into thinking you've moved forward. But you haven't. You've only released energy you were supposed to use for execution. You have a choice. You can keep talking about it, or you can start building it. You can feed your ego, or you can feed your results. You can impress people, or you can impress yourself. You can't do both. That's the key. Every time you explain your vision, you lose a piece of it. You leak energy. You invite opinions. And those opinions? They drain momentum faster than failure ever could. Most people fail not because they lack potential, but because they talk too much. They want recognition before they've earned it. They want applause before the work is done. But the truth is simple. Quiet builders move different. They don't announce. They don't explain. They don't post. They just work. Day after day, step after step, until one day results make all the noise for them. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need permission. Your dream doesn't need an audience. It needs execution. Remember that. Real builders understand that silence is protection. The less you say, the stronger you stay. Because silence keeps you unpredictable. Silence keeps you focused. Silence keeps your energy where it belongs, inside the work. Every minute spent talking about your goal is a minute not building it. Think about that. You can either talk for an hour, or you can use that same hour to create something real. You can post about your dream, or you can take one small, disciplined step toward it. That's the difference between fantasy and focus. It's not about noise. It's about movement. The world is loud. Everyone's showing off. Everyone's selling dreams they haven't lived. But the quiet ones, they're winning. They're stacking. They're growing. While the world scrolls and talks, they move in silence. They don't need to be seen. They need to be free. And freedom only comes when you stop performing and start producing. Silence builds. Noise destroys focus. It's not just a phrase, it's a way of life. Because the moment you stop talking, you start listening. You start hearing your own thoughts clearly. You start recognizing distractions. You start becoming dangerous in the best way. Because a silent worker is unpredictable. A silent builder is unstoppable. Let me tell you what this looks like in practice. Stop announcing new goals. Start them. Stop telling people what you're working on. Finish it. Stop asking for feedback from people who aren't even building their own lives. Just do the work. Just execute. Just keep stacking small wins in private. Because private victories turn into public power. You have to understand, when you talk too much, you give the world a map to your weaknesses. You show them what matters to you. You invite resistance. But when you move quietly, you move freely. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need to justify your grind. You don't even need to explain your silence. Results will do the talking when the time comes. Silence doesn't mean hiding. It means mastering control. It means focusing your attention where it actually matters, on the process. It means learning to love the boredom of consistency instead of the thrill of being seen. That's the discipline. That's what separates the wealthy from the wannabes. Look at the greats. The real ones never announced. They appeared. They let their work speak. They didn't broadcast their plans, they delivered results. And when they finally spoke, people listened because results had already done the talking. That's quiet power. That's quiet wealth. You have to rewire how you think. Because the world tells you that if you're not visible, you're invisible. But that's a lie. Visibility doesn't create value. Execution does. Silence is the strategy of those who plan to win. It's the discipline of those who don't waste words. It's the secret weapon of those who move while everyone else is talking. If you truly want to build something that lasts, make this your rule. Don't tell them. Show them. Don't explain your goals. Demonstrate your results. Don't prove your vision with words. Prove it with action. Every brick you lay in silence compounds. Every disciplined act, unseen and uncelebrated, becomes the foundation of freedom. That's the paradox of real wealth. It's built in private, then revealed in power. You don't need motivation when you have direction. You don't need applause when you have alignment. You don't need recognition when you're already growing. You don't need anyone to see you working. You just need to keep working. And when the time comes, when your work finally stands on its own, you'll realize that silence was never weakness. It was your strongest move. Because while others were busy talking, you were building. While they sought attention, you built freedom. While they wanted to be seen, you built something that could never be ignored. You have a choice. Keep talking or start building. Keep chasing noise or start chasing results. Keep performing or start producing. The decision is yours, but remember this. Every time you speak, you're either giving life to your excuses or energy to your execution. You decide which one wins. Silence builds. Noise destroys focus. Say it again. Believe it. Live it. Because once you embrace it, everything changes. You'll stop explaining. You'll stop proving. You'll start moving. You'll start stacking. You'll start creating real momentum, and that's when you become unstoppable. You don't need permission to stay quiet. You don't need validation to be disciplined. You don't need recognition to win. You just need to keep building, one quiet decision at a time. And when it's done, when the world finally sees what you've built, they'll realize you didn't need to talk about it. You were too busy doing it. That's quiet power. That's quiet wealth. That's how freedom is made. You mastered silence. You learned to move without noise. Now let's take it one step further, because silence alone isn't enough. You must also detach from the need for approval. You must become immune to applause. Chapter 2. Detach from applause. Validation is the currency of the poor. Freedom is the currency of the rich. That's the rule. And if you don't learn to detach from applause, you'll stay broke. Not just financially, but mentally. Because the need to be seen, to be liked, to be approved of, is the silent addiction that kills focus, discipline, and peace. Most people don't work for progress. They work for praise. They don't chase mastery. They chase attention. They don't build for themselves. They build for validation. But real builders, the ones who create quiet wealth, they operate differently. They don't need the world to clap. They need results to multiply. They don't care who notices. They care what compounds. You have to understand this. The desire for validation is a trap dressed as motivation. It feels good, but it makes you weak. Every time you post your progress for applause, you give away your power. Every time you crave a reaction, you lose control of your direction. Because now your mood depends on other people's opinions. And when your emotions depend on approval, you're no longer free. You have a choice. You can chase applause, or you can chase autonomy. You can be addicted to being liked, or addicted to being unstoppable. You can't have both. That's the key. Applause is addictive because it rewards ego, not growth. It feeds the shallow part of you that wants to feel successful instead of becoming successful. And that's why most people stay stuck. They mistake being noticed for being valuable. But attention fades fast. Discipline compounds forever. Detach from applause. Learn to move without claps, without compliments, without eyes on you. The real work happens in silence when no one's watching. When you're grinding with no recognition. When you're disciplined with no audience. That's where character is built. That's where quiet wealth is born. Ask yourself, who are you when no one's cheering? Who are you when no one notices your effort? Who are you when nobody validates your grind? Because that's the real you. The disciplined version of you doesn't need validation to stay consistent. The weak version does. You decide which one wins. You don't need their permission to grow. You don't need their recognition to evolve. You don't need applause to keep moving. The world claps for entertainment, not for endurance. Stop performing. Start producing. Here's the truth. Applause can blind you. It can make you soft. When people praise you too early, you start slowing down. You think you've made it, but the great ones never get comfortable. They don't let applause become anesthesia. They let it pass. They stay hungry. They stay quiet. The strongest builders are invisible during their rise. They move under the radar. They don't need the dopamine of attention. They're high on purpose. They know the real reward isn't claps. It's control. Control over time, energy, and freedom. Detach from applause. Because the more they clap, the more they own your mind. The more they validate you, the more they control you. That's the silent price of attention, your independence. Every like, every comment, every good job becomes a chain if you depend on it. You can't be free when your self-worth comes from feedback. Let them talk. Let them underestimate. Let them doubt. You don't owe the world updates on your progress. You owe yourself results. The quiet ones are the dangerous ones because they no longer need approval to move. They act without asking. They execute without explaining. They build without broadcasting. Here's what detaching from applause looks like in real life. You stop checking who liked your post. You stop explaining your discipline. You stop needing people to understand your vision. You stop sharing early wins just to feel seen. You work in silence and let the outcomes speak. You have to train your mind to love the grind more than the recognition. You have to rewire your brain to find satisfaction in effort, not applause. The day you stop needing validation is the day you start moving like a real builder. That's the switch. That's the freedom. You might lose people when you detach from applause. You might lose friends, followers, and noise. Good. That's the price of peace. That's the cost of control. Most people can't handle silence because silence forces you to face yourself. But that's where growth lives. In the quiet moments when no one's watching, no one's clapping, and you're still showing up anyway. Detach from applause because it keeps you broke in spirit. It drains your focus. It steals your time. Every minute spent refreshing notifications is a minute stolen from your mission. Every second craving attention is a second lost from execution. It's not about being seen. It's about being solid. It's not about getting noticed. It's about getting better. It's not about proving anything. It's about becoming something. Let the world talk while you build. Let them wonder where you went. Let them question your silence. Because one day they'll see the results. And those results will speak louder than any praise ever could. You have to be okay with being misunderstood. You have to be fine with people not knowing what you're doing. That's strength. You don't owe clarity to anyone who isn't contributing to your climb. You owe silence to your focus. Detach from applause. Detach from being liked. Detach from performing. Because performance is exhausting, but purpose is energizing. You can't build quiet wealth while seeking noisy validation. The applause of others is not your oxygen. Purpose is. Progress is. Freedom is. You have a choice. Keep chasing attention or start chasing mastery. Keep feeding your ego or start feeding your future. The applause will fade. But discipline compounds forever. Say it again. The more they clap, the more they own your mind. Don't let them own you. You're not here to entertain. You're here to execute. You're not here to please. You're here to produce. You're not here to be seen. You're here to be free. Detach from applause. That's the mindset of quiet wealth. That's how you build something that doesn't need approval to exist. That's how you become untouchable. Not because everyone sees you, but because no one can control you. Freedom doesn't clap. Freedom whispers. And it whispers through peace, focus, and results. You've detached from applause. You've learned to move without noise, without praise, without dependence. Now it's time to talk about the difference between looking rich and being rich. The art of building real value instead of fake appearances. Chapter 3. Build assets, not appearances. Wealth isn't what you see. It's what you own. It's what works for you when you're asleep. It's what keeps growing even when you stop moving. But most people don't understand that. They chase appearances. They want to look rich instead of becoming rich. And that's why they stay broke, loud, shiny, and empty. The world rewards illusions. Expensive clothes, new cars, luxury posts, but none of that is wealth. That's debt disguised as success. That's ego-wearing designer. Quiet wealth looks boring because it's smart. It's strategic. It's built on ownership, not image. You have a choice. You can impress people or you can own your freedom. You can look rich or you can be rich. You can chase validation or you can build assets. That's the key. The people who build real wealth don't need to prove anything. They don't spend money to show status. They use money to buy control. They use money to buy time. They use money to buy peace, because that's what wealth really is. Control over your own life. Most people don't want wealth. They want the feeling of being wealthy, and that feeling is expensive. It's temporary. It fades the moment the bills arrive. You buy the shoes, the phone, the watch, and for 5 minutes you feel successful. Then reality reminds you, the rich aren't showing off. They're collecting. Build assets, not appearances. Build things that work when you don't. Assets are silent employees. Your money, your systems, your skills, your investments. They don't brag. They don't post, but they multiply. Every real builder knows this truth. Assets whisper, liabilities scream. You have to shift your focus. Stop asking, how can I look successful? Start asking, what can I own that earns while I rest? Stop measuring worth by appearance. Start measuring it by freedom. The goal isn't to spend. The goal is to stack. The goal isn't to impress. The goal is to escape. It's not about looking busy. It's about building leverage. It's not about noise. It's about control. It's not about showing progress. It's about owning results. That's the mindset shift that builds quiet wealth. You don't need to tell people what you have. You don't even need to show them. Because real assets don't announce themselves. A strong portfolio doesn't brag. A savings account doesn't flex. Ownership doesn't need likes. It just grows. Here's the harsh truth. The loudest people about money usually have the least of it. They spend to signal success, not to sustain it. They buy status, not security. And they confuse temporary attention with permanent achievement. But the quiet wealthy don't play that game. They move differently. They live below their means, not because they're scared to spend, but because they're smart enough to multiply. They understand delayed gratification. They understand control. They know that every dollar wasted on showing off is a soldier lost in the battle for freedom. You have a choice every day: buy liabilities or build assets. You can buy things that lose value the moment you touch them, or you can acquire things that pay you back every month. You can feed your ego, or you can fund your future. That's the discipline. And discipline is wealth. Stop chasing shiny distractions. Stop trying to look like you've made it. The truth is, the ones who really made it are the ones you'll never notice. They dress simple. They live quiet. They don't compete on appearance because they're too busy building substance. Let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with wanting nice things. But nice things should be the result, not the reason. The goal isn't to deny yourself forever. The goal is to build enough wealth that when you buy, it doesn't cost your peace. If your purchase makes you anxious, it's not success. It's stress. And stress is the opposite of wealth. Quiet wealth is strategic. It's not about hiding. It's about prioritizing. It's about playing the long game while everyone else chases short-term attention. It's about stacking unseen wins. It's about owning assets that grow quietly in the background while the world is busy performing. Build assets, not appearances, because appearances fade, but ownership compounds. Cars depreciate, clothes fade, watches scratch. But skills, systems, investments, they grow. They multiply. They feed you for decades. Every wealthy person started with this understanding. Cash flow first, comfort later. You don't build wealth by spending. You build it by multiplying. You don't buy to look free. You invest to become free. That's the difference between pretending and preparing. So what should you do right now? Start simple. Pay yourself first. Save before you spend. Invest before you upgrade. Buy what makes you money, not what makes you look like you have it. Focus on cash flow, not clout. Build digital assets. Learn income skills. Create something that pays you even when you're offline. The quiet builders are stacking. They're acquiring income streams, skills, properties, stocks, and systems. They're moving in silence while the world is screaming about luxuries they can't afford. They don't need to announce their wins. They need to sustain them. It's not about the image. It's about independence. It's not about style. It's about strategy. It's not about attention. It's about accumulation. That's the truth most people can't handle, because they'd rather look successful today than actually be free tomorrow. But you're not most people. You're learning the rules of quiet wealth. You're playing the long game. You're building leverage, not likes. You're building peace, not pressure. You're building ownership, not opinions. And one day, while everyone else is still performing, you'll wake up and realize something powerful. You don't need to prove wealth when you live it. You don't need to show success when you've earned control. You don't need to chase validation when you've built freedom. You have a choice. Every purchase, every post, every decision. It's either a liability or an asset. It's either feeding your ego or feeding your future. Choose wisely. Because the more you build assets, the quieter your life becomes, and the freer you feel. Silence builds. Noise destroys focus, and nowhere is that more true than in money. The loudest lives often belong to the emptiest accounts. But the quiet ones, the focused, disciplined ones, they build legacies in silence, build assets, not appearances. That's how you escape the noise. That's how you create real control. That's how you become wealthy. Quietly, deeply, permanently. You've learned to build value, not image. You've shifted from showing off to stacking up. But building assets means nothing if you can't protect your most important one, your privacy. Because power grows best when nobody's watching. Chapter 4. Live below. Attention quiet. Wealth doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't crave validation. Real power grows in silence, not in public. But most people don't understand that. They think visibility equals success. They think being seen means they've arrived. They want to be noticed, liked, followed. And in that chase for attention, they trade away their power. Attention is expensive. It costs your peace. It costs your privacy. It costs your ability to move freely. The more attention you attract, the more control you lose. You stop building for yourself and start performing for others. You start measuring progress not by freedom, but by feedback. That's the trap. Quiet wealth is built under the radar. The richest people you'll never meet are the ones who live below attention. They move quietly. They make decisions without announcing them. They win without applause. They disappear while everyone else performs. You have a choice. You can chase attention, or you can build control. You can impress strangers, or you can protect your peace. You can talk about what you're doing, or you can just do it. That's the key. Most people don't want success. They want recognition. They want credit. They want people to see the grind, to praise the effort, to validate their identity. But that's noise. That's distraction. That's how discipline dies. The quiet wealthy understand this truth. Attention is a currency, and the more you spend it, the less freedom you have. Every post, every flex, every look at me moment comes with a cost. The cost is control. The cost is security. The cost is peace. You can't build freedom when everyone's watching. You can't plan in peace when you're performing for validation. You can't focus deeply when your attention is scattered across screens. The more visible you are, the more vulnerable you become. That's why quiet builders move differently. They don't announce their next move. They don't explain their strategy. They don't post every win. They keep their head down and their output high. They know the game is played in silence and revealed in results. Real power doesn't need proof. Real wealth doesn't need witnesses. When you live below attention, you gain leverage. You can move when others are distracted. You can plan while others are posting. You can build while others are performing. Silence gives you space to think, space to act, space to grow. That's why the quiet path is the most powerful path. Because focus compounds in privacy. It's not about hiding. It's about control. It's not about secrecy. It's about strategy. You're not avoiding people. You're protecting progress. That's what the loud world doesn't get. They equate visibility with validation. They think if no one sees them winning, it doesn't count. But the truth is, the best wins happen off camera. The quiet wealthy don't need to prove anything. They let their bank statements speak. They let their time freedom speak. They let their peace speak. Because real success doesn't scream. It whispers through freedom. You have to stop feeding your ego and start feeding your future. You don't need to prove your progress online. You don't need to announce your goals to people who aren't building with you. You don't need validation to grow. You need discipline. You need patience. You need privacy. Here's a truth most won't accept. The more people know about your life, the more control they have over it. Every detail you share becomes a piece of leverage. Every post becomes exposure. The world doesn't need to know what you're doing. They just need to see what you've built. You have to learn the discipline of invisibility. Not because you're scared, but because you're strategic. Power moves best when it's unseen. Wealth multiplies fastest when it's unannounced. Let others perform. You stay focused. Let others chase attention. You chase results. Living below attention means mastering self-control. You don't react to every opinion. You don't defend every choice. You don't waste energy on proving your worth. You stay calm, focused, and intentional. You operate like a shadow. Invisible but effective. You have a choice. Every time you feel the urge to show, remind yourself, do I want attention or freedom? Attention feeds the ego. Freedom feeds the soul. You can't have both. Quiet wealth doesn't care about being seen. It cares about being sustained. It doesn't care about being admired. It cares about being independent. The quiet ones aren't trying to be known. They're trying to be free. That's why you'll never see them explaining themselves online. You'll never see them arguing about money, posting their wins, or flexing their lifestyle. They don't need to. Their results are louder than any caption. Their peace is louder than any applause. When you live below attention, you stop chasing perception. You stop performing for others. You start building for yourself. That's when progress accelerates, because all your energy returns to you. All your focus stays internal. You stop leaking discipline through validation. It's not about being mysterious. It's about being intentional. It's not about being invisible. It's about being untouchable. The less people know, the more they assume. The more they assume, the freer you become. So disappear into your discipline. Let them wonder what you're doing. Let them doubt. Let them talk. You don't owe explanations. You owe yourself results. The most powerful version of you is the one no one sees coming. Because when nobody's watching, you move without noise. You build without pressure. You grow without resistance. That's how quiet wealth is made. Hidden, consistent, unstoppable. Attention is a trap dressed as a trophy. It looks like success, but it steals your freedom. The ones chasing fame end up enslaved by it. The ones avoiding the spotlight end up owning it. You don't need followers to build fortune. You need focus. You don't need applause to build freedom. You need action. You don't need attention. You need assets. Live below attention. Build above average. That's the formula. That's the discipline. Let others chase the spotlight while you build in the shadows. Let them talk about success while you quietly create it. Let them seek fame. You seek freedom. Because when the noise fades, only one thing remains. What you built. And when you finally rise, it won't be with noise. It'll be with control. It'll be with peace. It'll be with freedom. That's the sound of quiet wealth. You've learned to live below attention, to protect your focus and your peace. But to sustain quiet wealth, you need the next rule, the discipline that transforms consistency into power. Chapter 5, Master Boring Money. Everyone wants excitement. Everyone wants the rush. But wealth isn't built in the rush. It's built in repetition. Quiet wealth comes from boring habits, done over and over again, long after everyone else gets distracted. You want to be rich? Learn to love the boring. Because that's where consistency lives. That's where freedom hides. Boring money isn't flashy. It's not exciting to talk about saving. It's not thrilling to say no to the new car, the new phone, the new trip. But that's the discipline. That's the foundation every rich person stands on. Invisible, repetitive, unglamorous control. The kind of control most people will never master. You have a choice. You can chase dopamine, or you can chase discipline. You can chase entertainment, or you can chase freedom. Every moment you pick pleasure over progress, you lose momentum. That's the truth most can't accept. Quiet wealth isn't made through luck or hype. It's made through systems. Save, invest, repeat. That's not sexy, but it's powerful. That's the key. Everyone says they want to be rich, but few want to be bored. They want to gamble. They want to flip. They want fast results, but fast is fragile. Quiet wealth plays the long game. It compounds quietly, invisibly, patiently. The loud ones chase spikes. The quiet ones stack results. Most people lose money because they confuse motion with progress. They're always chasing something new, a new scheme, a new side hustle, a new secret shortcut. But the wealthy know there are no secrets, just systems, just discipline, just consistency. You don't need a miracle. You need a method. You don't need luck. You need longevity. You don't need excitement. You need endurance. Because wealth isn't about one big move. It's about 1,000 small, boring moves done correctly every single day. Think about it. The investor who wins isn't the one making risky bets. It's the one who automates consistency, the one who buys, holds, and compounds, the one who doesn't flinch when others panic. Quiet, patient, controlled. That's how the rich move. Most people fail, not because they can't make money, but because they can't sit still. They can't tolerate boredom. They need stimulation. They mistake excitement for purpose. But excitement is expensive. Every time you chase it, you trade peace for chaos. If you can learn to master boredom, you can master life. You can master money. You can master yourself. Because boring habits build empires. The world calls it routine. The wealthy call it freedom. It's not about doing more. It's about repeating what works, over and over, without emotion, without ego, without noise. That's how the quiet rich operate. That's why they win. The broke man needs constant novelty. The rich man needs constant discipline. That's the difference. You have to fall in love with the process, the grind, the routine. You have to find peace in repetition. Because repetition compounds, and compounding is the silent engine of wealth. Every dollar you save, every investment you make, every temptation you resist. That's how power grows. Silence builds. Noise destroys focus. The world wants to distract you with speed, trends, and viral success. Ignore it. The wealthy don't chase trends. They create systems. They don't chase profits. They build machines that print them quietly. You want to know the truth? The quiet wealthy don't wake up asking, how can I make money today? They ask, how can I protect what's working? They play defense. They protect systems. They respect the boring. Because boring is stable, and stability compounds. Every great fortune you admire started with boring money. Warren Buffett didn't get rich overnight. He got rich over decades of boring decisions. The same stocks, the same discipline, the same patience. That's the blueprint. But you won't see that on social media. You'll see risk, noise, and speed. Because excitement sells. Boredom doesn't. That's why most stay broke. They're addicted to thrill, allergic to patience. You have a choice. You can build quietly or chase loudly. You can build stability or chase excitement. You can be rich or look rich, never both. The key to quiet wealth is this. Automate your discipline. Make saving automatic. Make investing automatic. Make consistency unavoidable. Systems don't get emotional. Systems don't get tired. Systems don't get bored. They just work. You have to become the kind of person who repeats without reward. Who works without applause? Who stays consistent without needing recognition? That's what separates builders from dreamers. The quiet wealthy don't need to be told they're doing great. They know the score. They measure progress in silence, through numbers, not praise. Every day they ask one question. Did I stay disciplined? That's it. That's the secret. Boring money gives you control. Because when your finances are predictable, your life becomes flexible. You buy back time. You buy back peace. You buy back options. And that's real wealth. Not excitement, not luxury, not fame. Freedom. Freedom is built through discipline. Discipline is built through boredom. You can't separate them. You want excitement? Go to the movies. You want wealth? Sit down. Focus. Repeat. Most people quit right before results appear because they get bored. They want something new. They think boredom means failure, but it means mastery. When the process gets boring, that's when you're close to winning. That's when growth becomes automatic. Boring is beautiful. Boring means consistency. Boring means control. Boring means you're not chasing. You're building. You're not gambling. You're growing. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to chase trends. You need to execute the same small actions over and over until freedom becomes inevitable. That's quiet wealth. Remember this. Exciting money disappears fast. Boring money stays forever. Quiet money doesn't shout. It compounds. It multiplies slowly, predictably, invisibly. That's the kind of wealth that lasts. So stop looking for adrenaline in your finances. Look for discipline. Stop looking for passion in your paycheck. Look for consistency. Stop looking for shortcuts. There aren't any. Your life changes when you start honoring the boring. When you stop chasing thrill and start chasing mastery. When you stop craving motivation and start creating systems. That's when wealth becomes a side effect of your behavior. Boring money isn't slow. It's strategic. It's not dull, it's dangerous. Because once you master it, you can't be stopped. You can't be manipulated. You can't be rushed. You become unshakable. Quiet wealth doesn't celebrate every win. It just keeps compounding. It doesn't need attention, it needs momentum. And momentum only comes from one thing, discipline repeated daily. You have a choice. Right now, you can keep chasing stimulation like everyone else. Or you can slow down, simplify, and start compounding quietly, one boring decision at a time. That's how freedom is built. Now you understand the secret of quiet wealth, boring consistency. But there's another level. You can't maintain this pace unless you protect your most valuable resource, your energy. Because focus is fuel, and once it's gone, so is your progress. Chapter 6. Protect your energy like capital energy is your real currency. Not money. Not time, energy. Because without energy, you can't build. You can't think. You can't execute. You can't lead. Quiet wealth is built by people who protect their energy like investors protect capital. Every distraction, every argument, every notification, that's a withdrawal from your energy account. The rich don't waste it. The poor spend it like it's infinite. Most people leak energy without realizing it. They give it away to gossip, to negativity, to drama, to noise. They argue online. They react to nonsense. They scroll for hours. Then they say they're tired, unmotivated, unfocused. Of course they are. They've drained themselves on things that don't compound. You can't build wealth when you're running on empty. You have a choice. You can protect your energy or spend it recklessly. You can treat it like capital or like candy. You decide. That's the key. Quiet wealth requires power. Internal power. You can't have focus if your mind is scattered. You can't have discipline if your emotions are uncontrolled. Protecting your energy means protecting your attention, your peace, your mental bandwidth. It means saying no more often than you say yes. It means cutting off anything that doesn't serve the mission. You don't need to attend every argument. You don't need to defend every opinion. You don't need to prove every point. Walk away. Silence is your greatest protection. Because every word you speak takes energy. Every reaction drains focus. And every ounce of lost focus slows your growth. Quiet wealth is built by people who conserve. They conserve money. They conserve movement. They conserve emotion. They don't get pulled into chaos. They don't waste mental bandwidth on people who aren't building. They stay calm, deliberate, centered. That's real power. You can tell how wealthy someone will become by how they spend their energy. The broke are always busy. Busy reacting, busy complaining, busy chasing. The rich are selective, calm, intentional, strategic. The broke spend energy trying to look in control. The rich use energy to gain control. Your energy is the foundation of every result. Protect it like treasure. Guard it like capital. You can lose money and make it back. But when your energy's gone, your decisions collapse, your habits slip, your standards fall. The quiet rich know this. That's why they build routines that protect their energy before they build systems that multiply money. You want to know what drains your energy the fastest? Chaos, noise, overcommitment. You say yes to too much. You take on things that don't align. You try to please everyone. You try to be available 24/7. You spread yourself thin. And then you wonder why you can't focus, why you can't execute, why you feel burned out. You have to stop confusing activity with achievement. You're not being productive. You're being drained. Protect your attention like you protect your savings account. Every time you give it away, make sure there's a return. If it doesn't move your vision forward, it's a distraction. If it doesn't feed your growth, it's an expense. You don't need every opportunity. You don't need every invitation. You don't need to explain every boundary. Quietly decline. Politely disappear. Protect your peace. You don't need their permission to rest. You don't need their understanding to recharge. You don't need to justify your silence. Your energy is yours, not theirs. The quiet wealthy aren't lazy. They're strategic. They schedule their energy the same way they schedule investments. They know where to spend it and when to hold it. They wake up early to guard their mind. They protect the morning like it's sacred. No noise, no social media, no chaos, just clarity. You have to build boundaries that keep you strong. Boundaries are not walls. They're filters. They keep out what drains you and allow in what fuels you. If someone constantly leaves you tired, cut them off. If a habit leaves you empty, replace it. If a routine kills your focus, change it. That's how the rich operate, always optimizing energy flow. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's survival. Because you can't pour from an empty tank. You can't give value if you're drained. You can't lead if you're depleted. The world glorifies hustle, but hustle without energy is chaos. You don't need to go faster. You need to go cleaner. Clean energy means focused work, clear intention, and consistent rest. The quiet rich don't burn out because they pace themselves. They take recovery seriously. They treat rest like an investment, not a reward. Because they understand discipline without recovery is destruction. You have to know when to pull back, when to recharge, when to disconnect. You're not losing time. You're refueling the engine. That's what keeps you consistent. That's what keeps you sharp. You don't need to chase everything. You don't need to compete with everyone. When you protect your energy, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop following and start leading. You stop surviving and start building. It's not about working less. It's about working right. The right focus, the right rhythm, the right priorities. You can't build quietly if you're drained loudly. You can't execute discipline if you're exhausted daily. Protecting your energy is protecting your empire. Look at your life like a portfolio. Every relationship, every habit, every commitment is either an asset or a liability. Assets give energy. Liabilities drain it. Audit them. Remove what's bleeding you dry. Reinvest in what gives you strength. The truth is simple. The quiet wealthy don't have more hours. They have more focus. They don't do more, they do less better. That's how they win. Not with speed, but with precision. You have a choice. You can keep leaking energy on distractions, or you can direct it toward your mission. You can let the world drain you, or you can build walls around your peace. You decide who gets access to your energy. You decide what deserves your focus. That's real power. Protect your mornings. Protect your mindset. Protect your rest. Protect your purpose. Because when your energy is right, your money follows. When your mind is sharp, your decisions compound. When your peace is intact, your results multiply. Stop letting small things drain big energy. Stop giving your power to noise. Every moment of reaction steals a moment of creation. Every distraction delays discipline. Every argument kills momentum. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them distract themselves while you conserve your fuel. You have nothing to prove. You have everything to build. Protect your energy so you can outlast, outthink, and outperform. Quiet wealth isn't built in sprints. It's built in seasons. And you need energy for every season. Protecting your energy is not about isolation. It's about elevation. You don't cut people off because you hate them. You do it because you're building something bigger than conversation. You're protecting something sacred. Your focus, your drive, your direction. Remember this. The louder the world gets, the quieter you must become. Because silence recharges power. Stillness restores strength. And control rebuilds energy. When your energy is clean, your moves are clear. When your mind is calm, your vision sharpens. When your peace is protected, your wealth expands. That's the law of quiet power. You can't buy energy. You can only protect it. You can't fake focus. You can only guard it. You can't cheat peace. You can only earn it through discipline. So start protecting your energy like capital. Because when your focus is intact, your freedom follows. And freedom, that's the ultimate return on investment. You've learned to guard your focus, to preserve your strength, to protect your power. Now it's time to master the next stage, where patience turns pressure into profit. Chapter 7. Delay the display. Everybody wants to show they're winning. They want to prove they made it. They want to display the reward before they've mastered the discipline. But quiet wealth doesn't need to show. Quiet wealth delays the display. Because when you reveal too early, you lose momentum. When you show your hand, you lose power. When you seek validation, you give up control. Real builders know this. Timing is everything. You can't flex in the middle of the process. You can't celebrate halfway through the climb. You can't announce success before it's secure. The loud ones show, the disciplined ones wait. Because every time you show too soon, you expose your position. And exposure invites pressure, envy, distraction. That's how you lose focus. You have a choice. You can display early or dominate quietly. You can impress now or build forever. That's the trade. That's the key. The world is obsessed with showing progress. Cars, houses, numbers, screenshots, proof. But here's the truth. The louder they show, the weaker the foundation. The ones who truly made it don't need to prove anything. Their freedom proves it. Their control proves it. Their peace proves it. Delayed display is not about hiding. It's about protecting your leverage. When you move quietly, nobody knows your strategy. Nobody knows your next step. You stay unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. You don't owe anyone visibility. You don't owe anyone updates. You don't owe the internet proof that you're progressing. You owe yourself consistency. You owe yourself control. The moment you start showing too early, the world interferes. Opinions appear. Pressure builds. Distractions multiply. You lose your rhythm. You lose your freedom. You start performing instead of progressing. That's why quiet builders keep their moves private. They don't announce. They execute. They don't show. They grow. You have to understand this law. The longer you delay the display, the stronger your foundation becomes. Because privacy breeds focus. Focus breeds results. And results, real results, speak louder than any post, any picture, any performance. You want to know why most people never reach financial freedom? Because they can't resist the urge to show progress too soon. They want to prove they're winning before they actually are. They get the new car, the new watch, the new lifestyle, all before the cash flow can support it. And just like that, the illusion of wealth replaces real wealth. Quiet wealth doesn't need illusion. It builds reality. It buys time, not toys. It buys peace, not praise. It buys independence, not attention. You have to master the delay. You have to fall in love with not showing. You have to find joy in invisibility. Because when nobody's watching, you move free. You move clean. You move without pressure. The urge to display is ego. The choice to delay is discipline. One builds image. The other builds freedom. You can't have both. When you delay the display, you protect yourself from unnecessary eyes. The eyes that envy. The eyes that question. The eyes that distract. Not everyone wants you to win. Some just want to monitor your progress. Some want to copy your moves. Some want to see you fall. That's why silence is strategy. Quiet wealth understands. The less they know, the more secure you are. Let them guess. Let them assume. Let them underestimate. That's how you win quietly. That's how you strike when they least expect it. You don't need the world to clap. You don't need their recognition. You need your rhythm. You need your routine. You need your results. That's what matters. Think of the greatest investors, the most successful entrepreneurs. They don't post every deal. They don't brag about every move. They let their net worth speak, not their mouth. They let compounding prove the point. They let time be the announcement. That's power. The loud ones look rich. The quiet ones are rich. The loud ones spend to show. The quiet ones invest to grow. The loud ones seek followers. The quiet ones seek freedom. You have to build a life that doesn't need to be displayed. A life that's felt, not flaunted. A life that's owned, not borrowed. That's quiet wealth. Every time you delay the display, you build more strength. You let the results mature. You let the system solidify. You give your progress room to breathe. You give yourself the freedom to grow without outside pressure. It's not about living in fear. It's about living in focus. The less you show, the more you control. The less you reveal, the more you retain. Control is currency. Privacy is power. You don't need to prove your worth through things. The ones who know, know. The ones who don't matter. You don't need to explain your success. Your peace explains it. Your schedule explains it. Your choices explain it. You have a choice. You can flex early and fall short, or you can delay and dominate. You can chase attention or chase freedom. Choose freedom. Choose silence. Choose patience. Every display comes with a price. The car costs more when you buy it for validation. The house costs more when it's bought for attention. The luxury is never free. It taxes your focus, your time, your energy. Quiet wealth pays for peace, not perception. You have to get addicted to subtlety. The satisfaction of knowing you're winning without telling anyone. The power of walking through life unseen but unstoppable. That's quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need applause because it's already secure. You don't need to hide your success. Just stop announcing it. Let results speak. Let time reveal. Let peace display what noise never can. Delay doesn't mean denial. It means preparation. Every delay strengthens your position. Every delay sharpens your discipline. Every delay compounds your control. When it's time to display, it won't be for validation, it'll be for victory. You have to learn to wait. To build first, reveal later. To store before you show. Because the longer you delay, the deeper your roots grow. And deep roots make unshakable wealth. The ones who flex early fade early. The ones who build quietly last forever. The ones who crave eyes end up enslaved by them. The ones who crave peace end up free. It's not about being secretive. It's about being strategic. Every great empire was built in silence, away from noise, protected by discipline. The same rule applies to you. Delay the display. Build in darkness. Let your light appear when it's unstoppable. Because when your time comes, it won't be noise. It'll be undeniable. Quiet wealth is about control, not attention. It's about owning time, not moments. It's about being powerful enough to move silently and patient enough to wait for the right time to show. Let them see the final product, not the process. Let them witness the results, not the struggle. Let them wonder how you did it. That's the reward of delayed display. You don't need to prove you're winning. You just need to keep winning. You don't need to show progress. You just need to keep progressing. You don't need applause. You need autonomy. Delay the display. Not because you're scared, but because you're smart. Because quiet power doesn't announce itself. It arrives. And when it arrives, it doesn't need validation. It speaks for itself. That's the moment you've earned your freedom. You've learned patience. You've learned control. You've learned the strength of silence. But now, to sustain it, you must learn to systemize it. Because freedom without structure collapses. Chapter 8. Build systems, not status. Most people chase status. The discipline builds systems. And that's why the few control their time, while the rest are controlled by it. You don't rise by chasing titles, praise, or approval. You rise by creating systems that make discipline automatic. That's quiet wealth. Not luck, not hype, not status, but structure. You can't build freedom without systems. You can't build wealth off emotion. You can't sustain success on motivation. Systems are the bridge between vision and results. Status fades. Systems compound. Here's the truth. Status needs attention. Systems need consistency. Status dies when people stop watching. Systems grow even when no one's looking. That's the difference between the rich and the free. The rich want to look important. The free want to stay invisible. You have a choice. You can spend your life performing, or you can spend your life building. You can feed the ego, or you can feed the engine. You can chase attention, or you can design automation. That's the key. Quiet wealth isn't built through effort alone. It's built through design. Systems protect you from laziness. Systems protect you from burnout. Systems protect you from yourself. Because discipline is fragile when it depends on emotion, but unbreakable when it's built into your structure. You don't need more motivation. You need better systems. Systems that save you from the need to feel like it. Systems that make success the default, not the exception. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems. Think about it. Every quiet builder you admire has a system. Warren Buffett doesn't chase excitement, he follows structure. Every investment has a rule. Every move has logic. Elon Musk doesn't wake up and feel inspired. He operates within systems of iteration, measurement, and consistency. It's not luck, it's architecture. You need your own architecture. Financial systems, work systems, health systems, thinking systems, systems that automate your greatness. Because when success depends on mood, you lose. When it depends on structure, you win every single time. You have a choice every morning, emotion or execution. If you rely on emotion, you'll burn out. If you rely on execution, you'll break through. Quiet wealth chooses execution. Quiet wealth runs on autopilot, not adrenaline. Here's the hard truth. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're unstructured. They try to work harder instead of working systematically. They chase bursts of progress instead of sustainable growth. That's why they're always starting over, always resetting, always chasing, never arriving, but the ones who build systems never start over. Because systems don't care about mood. Systems don't care about weather. Systems don't care about how you feel. They just work. Every day. Quietly, efficiently. That's how quiet wealth compounds. Through invisible consistency. You don't need a bigger dream. You need a tighter routine. You don't need to talk louder. You need to move cleaner. You don't need new motivation. You need repeatable structure. Because repetition beats inspiration every time. Stop chasing lifestyle. Start building pipelines. Stop chasing followers. Start building frameworks. Stop chasing how it looks. Start mastering how it runs. Quiet wealth knows that systems are silent employees. They work when you rest. They grow when you're still. They multiply without attention. That's freedom. Freedom isn't doing less. It's doing less of the wrong things. It's replacing effort with structure. Every distraction that enters your life is a system failure. Every wasted day is a structure problem. Every dollar lost to impulse is a lack of automation. You can't rely on discipline alone. Discipline dies in chaos. Systems keep chaos out. Build systems around your money. Automate saving. Automate investing. Automate reinvestment. Build systems around your habits. Same morning routine, same focus blocks, same review cycles. Build systems around your mindset. When emotion rises, systemize your response. Step back, breathe, decide logically. That's control. The world will tell you to grind harder. Quiet wealth says, engineer smarter. Because grinding is temporary, engineering is permanent. You don't want to hustle forever. You want to design a machine that outlasts your energy. That's the mindset of quiet builders. Status wants to be seen. Systems want to succeed. You can't chase both. When you chase status, you spend. When you build systems, you earn. When you chase attention, you weaken. When you build automation, you strengthen. Most people would rather look successful than be sustainable. They build identity, not infrastructure. They want the title before they build the table. But quiet wealth flips it. Build first, display later. Build systems that feed you, not systems that feed your ego. You don't need to tell people your schedule, live it. You don't need to prove your productivity, systemize it. You don't need to post your progress, measure it. Quiet progress is progress that lasts. You want freedom? Automate it. You want peace? Schedule it. You want growth? Track it. You want control? Systemize it. That's the formula. That's the power of structure. You have a choice, chaos or control. And control doesn't come from feelings. It comes from frameworks. The disciplined aren't more talented. They're just more structured. They don't rely on memory. They rely on systems. Quiet wealth is boring, and that's what makes it powerful. Predictable habits, scheduled consistency, repetitive structure, day after day after day. It's not glamorous. It's not loud, but it's unstoppable. You don't need another plan. You need process. You don't need another motivation video. You need a system that executes without asking for permission. Because when systems lead, results follow. The truth is, freedom isn't found in flexibility. Freedom is found in structure. Because when you know what to do every day, you don't waste time deciding. You just do it. That's power. You can't scale chaos. You can't scale emotion, but you can scale systems. You can repeat success. You can multiply control. That's why the quiet win. Because their process is predictable, their effort is precise, and their execution is automatic. Every time you build a system, you build leverage. You build distance between effort and outcome. You build time. And time is the real currency of wealth. Quiet wealth knows this. Systems buy back time. Status sells it away. The more you chase appearance, the less you own your hours. But when your systems run smoothly, your time becomes yours again. That's when you're truly rich, when your life runs on structure, not struggle. So build systems, build routines, build machines that make progress inevitable. Because when you stop depending on willpower, you start depending on truth. Quiet wealth is not about hustle. It's about design. It's about building something so efficient that freedom becomes the default. You have a choice. You can live for status, always proving, always performing, always restarting. Or you can live for structure, always building, always compounding, always winning quietly. Choose structure, choose systems, choose quiet power, because status fades, systems last. Status depends on applause. Systems depend on truth. Status dies with attention. Systems live forever. Stop chasing how it looks. Start perfecting how it runs. That's the move. That's the mindset. That's quiet wealth. You built silence. You built patience. You built control. Now, it's time to make that control generate freedom. Because freedom is the ultimate return on discipline. The loud chase money. The quiet make money work. The loud grind for every dollar. The quiet design systems where money grinds for them. That's the shift. That's the mindset of quiet wealth. Not working harder, but making your wealth work silently, even while you rest. You can't buy freedom by trading all your time. You can't escape the cycle if your income dies when you stop moving. You need leverage. You need assets that breathe when you sleep. Because real wealth doesn't hustle, it compounds. Quiet wealth understands the law. If your money isn't working, you'll always be a worker. You can't claim control if your income depends on constant effort. That's not wealth. That's wage slavery. And too many confuse motion for progress. They work endlessly, but nothing compounds. They earn, they spend, they start again. That's not freedom. That's financial treadmill. You have a choice. You can keep grinding for money, or you can make money grind for you. You can chase income, or you can build cash flow. You can trade time or you can trade systems. That's the key. Every dollar you make has potential energy. You can waste it on comfort or you can convert it into soldiers. Soldiers that march while you sleep. That's what investing is. Sending your money to work while you rest. Quiet wealth doesn't hoard. It multiplies. It doesn't save for safety. It invests for sovereignty. You have to stop being addicted to effort. Because if you only know how to earn through effort, you'll never escape exhaustion. Your body will tire. Your time will vanish. But when your money learns to earn, you become limitless. Money sleeping doesn't mean you stop working. It means your work compounds beyond your effort. It means your labor creates machines that print progress. Assets that produce while you live. That's the game. The world sells you hustle. Quiet wealth teaches you systems. Hustle makes you tired. Systems make you free. Hustle creates income. Systems create independence. You have to make the shift from worker to owner. From earner to investor. From doer to designer. That's the real evolution. Every builder of quiet wealth follows this path. First, they learn how to make money. Then, they learn how to manage it. But the real transformation happens when they learn how to multiply it. Not through luck. Not through guessing. Through structure. Through patience. Through intelligent compounding. Most people fear investing because they crave instant reward. They don't want to wait. They want to feel rich now. That's why they spend, not to live, but to prove. But quiet builders know that every impulse purchase steals from future freedom. Every unnecessary flex delays independence. Quiet wealth doesn't buy for image. It buys for leverage. Real estate that cash flows. Businesses that scale. Stocks that grow. Knowledge that compounds. Every dollar is deployed strategically. Every purchase serves the mission. Freedom. You have to ask yourself, is this spending or is this strategy? Is this consumption or construction? Is this for today or for tomorrow? That's how you build financial control. You don't need millions to make money sleep. You need structure. You need discipline. You need to reinvest before you reward yourself. That's how the silent grow unstoppable. Small, consistent, compounding moves. Every reinvestment plants a seed, and time waters it while you rest. It's not about chasing risky returns. It's about consistency. It's about patience. Because wealth built quietly compounds quietly. It doesn't explode overnight. It expands invisibly. Like roots under soil, unseen but unshakable. That's what most people don't understand. They want visible progress. They want fast proof, but real progress hides for years before it shows. Real wealth is built underground, in the unseen habits, the consistent reinvestment, the quiet structure. You have to become obsessed with building invisible engines, the kind that run even when you stop. Income from assets, cash flow from systems, revenue from content, dividends from patience, freedom from structure. Every time you spend on ego, your money sleeps against you. Every time you invest in assets, your money sleeps for you. That's the difference. That's the discipline. Quiet wealth doesn't fear boredom. It embraces it. Because compounding is slow. It's silent. It's predictable. It's not exciting, but it's inevitable. You don't see it working day to day. But one day, you wake up free. You have to learn to separate activity from productivity. Busy doesn't mean rich. Hustling doesn't mean growing. True growth happens when your systems, not your sweat, create results. That's why quiet builders focus on ownership. They own systems that work while they rest. They own businesses that operate without them. They own assets that grow without effort. Ownership is freedom. Labor is limitation. You don't need 10 streams of income. You need 2 or 3 that are structured to compound. You don't need to chase trends. You need to master timeless principles. You don't need to gamble. You need to automate. The goal is to build money machines. Slow, steady, reliable. They won't impress anyone, but they'll liberate you. The loud ones chase high returns. The quiet ones chase longevity. The loud ones want to double overnight. The quiet ones want to compound forever. You don't need to predict the future. You need to prepare for it. You don't need to be first. You need to stay consistent. Because wealth isn't a race, it's a rhythm. And once you find that rhythm, your money will move even while you rest. Your time is the most expensive currency you own. Don't spend it earning what could be automated. Don't sacrifice decades chasing what systems can build. You have to train your mind to think in terms of multipliers, not effort. What builds while I sleep? What pays me when I'm still? What continues when I stop? That's your real portfolio. Every rich mind thinks in systems. Every free person earns through leverage. Every disciplined builder designs cash flow. It's not about working forever. It's about working once and getting paid forever. That's the discipline of quiet wealth, delayed reward, endless return. Because when money sleeps for you, you sleep in peace. You don't worry about bills. You don't chase opportunity. You create it. You have a choice. Temporary comfort or permanent control. You can spend today or invest for tomorrow. You can impress others or secure yourself. choose control. Choose compounding. Choose quiet power. You don't need the world to know how hard you work. You need your money to prove it. You don't need applause. You need automation. You don't need a stage. You need systems that pay you silently. Let your money move while you rest. Let your assets breathe while you plan. Let your freedom grow while you disappear. That's the essence of quiet wealth. And when you finally reach that point, when your systems sustain you, you realize something powerful. Wealth isn't about money anymore. It's about time. It's about peace. It's about space to think, to live, to create. Quiet wealth doesn't chase more. It refines what works. It builds slow. It multiplies wisely. It never stops compounding. Your job now is simple. Design your system, deploy your money, disappear from the noise. Let your results speak through time. Because when money sleeps for you, you never have to chase again. You never have to prove again. You never have to worry again. That's real wealth. And once your money sleeps, there's only one thing left to master: protecting your peace. Chapter 10. Protect your quiet. You built it. You worked in silence. You stayed disciplined. You delayed the display. You built systems. You made your money sleep. Now you've arrived at the final rule, the one that sustains it all. Protect your quiet. Because the world will try to take it from you. The world will demand noise. The world will reward distraction. The world will tempt you to return to the chaos you escaped. But quiet is your fortress now. Quiet is your edge. Quiet is your wealth. You have to protect it, ruthlessly, consistently, relentlessly. Most people lose their peace right after they gain success. They build freedom, then destroy it by letting noise back in. They trade discipline for comfort, focus for validation, clarity for attention. And slowly, they fall back into the cycle they fought to escape. Don't let that be you. You didn't build this to go back to noise. You built this to own your time. You built this to control your mind. You built this to live by design, not demand. Quiet is not emptiness. Quiet is control. Quiet is where the best ideas are born. Quiet is where your future takes shape. But you have to defend it, because everyone around you is addicted to noise. They will call your silence arrogance. They will call your distance cold. They will misunderstand your peace. That's fine. You don't owe them explanation. You owe yourself preservation. You have a choice. You can stay in control or surrender to chaos. You can guard your quiet or sell it for validation. That's the key. Every time you engage in drama, you pay with peace. Every time you argue, you pay with focus. Every time you try to prove, you pay with freedom. Protect your quiet, because it's the rarest currency left. Quiet is the foundation of power. The more you grow, the more you'll realize noise costs energy. Every conversation, every distraction, every comparison steals momentum. You can't afford to be everywhere. You can't afford to please everyone. You can't afford to let everyone in. You have to live by principle now. If it doesn't bring peace, it doesn't belong. If it doesn't align, it doesn't stay. If it doesn't serve your mission, it doesn't deserve your energy. That's the discipline of quiet wealth. Protect your environment. Protect your inputs. Protect your circle. Because your circle determines your silence, and your silence determines your strength. The wrong people will drain you. The wrong conversations will weaken you. The wrong energy will infect you. That's why quiet wealth stays selective. That's why quiet wealth doesn't mingle with chaos. Peace is profit. Focus is freedom. Silence is strategy. Every builder who reaches true freedom learns this final truth. The goal was never more money. The goal was less noise. The goal was space, to think, to breathe, to build, to live on your terms. That's real wealth. You don't need to prove you're winning. You don't need to post your peace. You don't need to explain your choices. Freedom doesn't need validation. Peace doesn't need applause. The loud chase status. The quiet protect peace. Because once you lose peace, you lose everything. Protect your time like gold. Protect your energy like currency. Protect your mind like a fortress. Because once your mind is invaded by noise, everything collapses. You start doubting yourself. You start comparing. You start reacting. And that's how you lose momentum. You built structure so you wouldn't rely on emotion. Now, protect that structure. You built systems so you could earn without chaos. Now, protect that order. You built discipline so you could move in control. Now protect that rhythm. The final stage of mastery isn't creation, it's preservation. The hardest part of wealth is keeping it quiet, because success will tempt you to become loud again. But the moment you get loud, you open the door for chaos to enter. Quiet wealth doesn't announce. It adjusts. It doesn't boast. It builds. It doesn't prove. It protects. That's why it lasts. You have to fall in love with invisibility again. The same silence that built your success is the silence that will keep it. Don't trade it for attention. Don't trade it for validation. Don't trade it for temporary praise. The stronger you become, the more silence you'll need. Because silence is clarity, and clarity is strength. You don't need to be understood. You need to be effective. You don't need to be liked. You need to be disciplined. You don't need to be seen. You need to be free. You've built everything that matters: time, control, peace. Don't let noise take it away, because the moment you let chaos in, you start to rebuild your prison. Protect your quiet from everything: the unnecessary calls, the endless scrolling, the validation traps, the gossip, the comparison. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. Quiet is where wealth grows. Quiet is where wisdom expands. Quiet is where you find yourself again. You don't need a crowd to feel complete. You don't need applause to stay motivated. You don't need noise to confirm your value. You are the proof. Your life is the statement. Your peace is the trophy. When you protect your quiet, you protect your freedom. When you protect your freedom, you protect your future. And when you protect your future, you protect your power. That's the cycle of quiet wealth. Build in silence. Grow through systems. Let your money work. Protect your peace. Repeat forever. It's not a one-time win. It's a lifelong discipline. Every day the world will test your boundaries. Every day you'll need to decide: chaos or clarity, noise or peace, validation or freedom. Choose quiet. Every time. Because quiet is not weakness. Quiet is strength under control. Quiet is power without ego. Quiet is wealth without noise. When the world shouts, you stay centered. When others flex, you stay focused. When the crowd runs, you stay still. That's mastery. That's dominance. That's freedom. Quiet wealth doesn't just build bank accounts. It builds identity. It builds self-trust. It builds inner stability. It builds a life that no one can shake. Protect that. Because if you lose your quiet, you lose the very thing that made you unstoppable. You have a choice: noise or peace, attention or mastery, chaos or control. Choose peace. Choose mastery. Choose quiet. Because at the end of it all, quiet is the loudest flex you'll ever make. Closing ending. You've learned the 7 rules. You've built your foundation. You've mastered silence, structure, and control. Now it's on you. Quiet wealth isn't a theory. It's a practice. It's a lifestyle. It's a code. Don't go back to noise. Don't fall for distractions. Don't trade your focus for attention. Keep building in silence. Keep compounding in peace. Keep choosing control, because real wealth doesn't scream. It whispers through freedom.